So hello once again, lovers of all things bizarre and geometrical. I went to the Pittsburgh Arts Fair a little while back, and oh boy, there's some proper weirdos there. And among them I met this dude. He was really cool and really interesting, and he runs this... Well, wait, back up. The Three Rivers... Let me sit down. The Three Rivers Art Festival is up... It's right in the middle of Pittsburgh, right where the rivers converge. There's this... where the two rivers become one. There's this park called Point State Park, and it's beautiful. And they have all sorts of vendors of... with all sorts of different arts and crafts, and it's just essential weirdness. Okay, so some shape caught my eye, and it resembled this. This is just a sketch of it, and what it was a piece of plywood that had been CNC'd into this design, and in each one of the cells that it created, there were these little wood-burned things and pieces of jewelry and neat little oddities and pieces of interest. It sunk in slowly, and then I started to look around, and I noticed that I was just surrounded by these geometrical wonders. And it didn't take me long to realize that this dude was a kindred spirit, and I had to go up and meet him, and I told him, I'm like, I don't even know what to say to you. I have nothing to say to you except that we're cast from the same mold and we need to talk. And he's like, yeah, I get it, right on, we'll have lunch or something, but not now, obviously, because I'm so busy. I mean, the booth was just swarming with people. It was just stuffed. But I would imagine that he comes from a similar shop that has strange, unfinished geometric problems all over it, just like mine. And you could just see that we would definitely appreciate the same things. So I asked him, what do you call that? And he said, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Let's call it a toroid. So that suits. It's a toroid spiral. Now the dude his name was James something, and he runs this outfit called Naked Geometry, and I'll post a link and a picture here now. Oh, and I would totally invite you to go investigate his stuff. And if you talk to him or buy something, tell him I sent you. And I don't know if he'll remember me. I didn't tell him that I think I might have mentioned that I was a YouTube personality, but I don't think he knew who or what I do. I didn't go into any specifics. We didn't have time. He did say that I think he said that he met George Hart, and that I think he said he met Vi Hart as well, which obviously those mathematical, it's the convergence of mathematics and philosophy or art and science, where that strange place in which you and probably you and definitely I dwell and get our rocks off with that sort of weirdness. So anyhow, I didn't get to meet him yet, and I'm afraid that I probably won't be able to now, which brings me to news that I have to tell you. I came home and started to create this version of it. I was going to build it, and I didn't work out whether or not it's possible. Well, it must be possible to some extent, depending on how you make the joinery. It's just that it's tedious. And I was going to make... This is just a prototype. I mean, I make prototypes all the time for all sorts of ideas, and had it worked out, then I would have attributed him and contacted him and told him that I was going to make a video about his thing, and maybe even collaborated with him, because I was really interested in making a new friend in this guy. So, well, why do I have to leave this as an a forced unfinished project? Well, good news. I sold this place, and I bought another house. Both things are contingent right now, and I think I'm moving, and it should be soon. So video production is limited right now, to say the least. There have been inspections and paperwork, and it's not an easy process. But the new place is pretty incredible. It has much more privacy, much more property. There's natural beauty all over it. And I will definitely be taking you along for the ride. Once I get out of here, I'll introduce you to it, and we will build a new shop there together. If you're wondering what this is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what you would call it. I've experimented with this sort of thing before, and I can show you a couple cool features of it. Wait here. Bowling ball storage. Paint bucket holder. Boy, there were some talented artists there. This one guy, oh my goodness, his art was like something out of a dream. It was just surreal. I don't even know how to characterize it or categorize it. It was just fantasy, but beautiful. It was like a bizarre, drug-induced dream. I asked him, how much of your brain do you devote to something like this? You must do it endlessly. And he looked at me with this bizarre, confused look and said, I have no way of answering that question. And he handed me a couple of pineapple-flavored gummy bears, and I just didn't even think. I popped them in my mouth and thanked him. Mrs. Pocket, as we walked away, just given the... If you would have looked around the place, it's like, you really should... This is what you told me. You really should not be eating gummy bears from a place like... But I went away okay. Nothing happened to me. Okay, this is one of the parts that you can use to make this. Okay, obviously it requires 6 of them. Can you do it using all this piece? I'll let you think about it and I'll answer that later. Do the spatial rotation task in your head. Let's see if you're smart enough to handle that. It's a tough one. Well, I have boxed up just about everything in preparation to move, and we staged the house. It's a rather nice house. I never really did take you on a walkthrough of it, but I spent a good 10 years remodeling it, and it's in suburbia, east of Pittsburgh, and we're moving approximately 3 times the distance away from Pittsburgh because, well, privacy and shop space, and because it's always been our dream to move to the woods. But so many unfinished videos. The harmonograph. I really wanted to get to that. Another video that I never got to is my mosaic. I wanted to make a video about making a floor mosaic. There are just far more ideas than I can ever get to, so they become abandoned ideas. Acrylic glass for a shower, I never got to that. This is just the nature of life and its limitations. I apologize. I wish that I could share all of my ideas with you, but we're limited by time and the format. The Hoberman sphere, I will return to that, especially at the new house. I have an idea for something that you'll love. These are my puzzles. It's kind of trashy, but as you might imagine, I'm an avid puzzler. I don't really focus on those types of videos. I found the demographic to be kind of, well, nasty, I'm sorry to say. So it really kind of prodded me away from making videos for that demographic. But there are still a lot of puzzle ideas that I have yet to finalize, explore, and make for video. So you can certainly expect more of those out of me. This whole moving experience has yanked me away from progress in YouTube, though. Like, my isopath board was my main project, and after that I had worked out I had on deck a sponsored video just to try to... I'm sorry to do that to you, but the sponsored videos would have really, really helped fund the whole YouTube project. And I still want to do it in a way that's non-invasive and well, I don't need to explain it to you. I'm sure you understand what it's like. But I had also come up with an alternative to that in order to help fund me a little bit. I was going to sell some of my oddities on eBay or some marketing site. What we're looking at here is what was going to be like an auction slash fundraiser. These are all items that were related to some of the different videos that I've done over the last couple of years, and I have a lot of stuff laying around that I don't really need, and I thought some people might think that a lot of it is cool. You know, they're prototypes and seconds and whatnot, and I just don't need so much of it. And it's not that I consider myself some kind of gifted artist or anything that I think that these are valuable. It's not that. It's that I thought that I could kind of get some support for the channel to help make it worth it. Because making videos is hard. I didn't post the video. Maybe I still should, because now more than ever, if we're going to move, it would be really useful to make or to draw in some revenue at this time. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Like, would you donate to what I'm doing here? Is it pathetic for me to ask? I don't know. You tell me. Oh, here's an abandoned idea. So, look. It's probably easier to just look at it than to have me try to explain what it is. I can't do it with two hands, but the idea was kind of like a cross between Hex and Connect 4, and it was a game where you black versus white. Like, some of these are just background colors, but this is just a prototype that I have abandoned. But you would drop your piece and try to, I don't know, I can't remember how I worked out the rules. I don't know if I wrote them down. I have a real board game that I should release, but time is pressing against me and always getting in my way. I have a complete board game worked out that I have yet to release. Other than Isopath, I mean. But it's not as good as Isopath. Isopath's the best board game that I've ever created, far and away. I love that game. Have I diverged from my stated goal in this video? I don't even remember what the stated goal is. I'm on very limited sleep, and the process has been pure confusion, so you have to bear with me. Stress. It's healthy stress, though, right? I mean, any stress that's accompanying a radical change in your life, but a desired radical change in your life, that's a good type of stress, isn't it? I mean, I should think so. That is a problem that I really want to address in the new house. We wanted to make an entire wall. We saw Steven Pinker. I've mentioned him before. You should know who he is. Steven Pinker is a public academic / intellectual personality. Very intelligent, very interesting. In his house, he has the entire wall in white boxes that are for his books, and we wanted to do something just like that because our collection is a little bit unreasonable. I don't want to consider myself a hoarder, but I'm a compulsive reader. I always have been, and so I'm not a library person. They're cheap. I'd rather just own them, and I always come back to them, and I read many, many books at a time, and I mean many as in like I'll have 30 or 40 books at a time that I'm progressing in. I know that's bizarre, and it probably affects my comprehension and retention. Some books I'm also notoriously bad at finishing them. What was the book that I made it to the last page and never finished it, and that was like 8 years ago. I can't remember what it was. I don't know. But we need to make a bigger shelf, because I also have a bookshelf upstairs of the books that I really read. These are books that I either read in the past or have yet to get to, but the ones that I really frequent are upstairs in the living room that I use. This room we don't use. This is completely unused. I remodeled it for show and to sell the house, but we don't use it. Yeah, we also have books under the bed and in the attic, and it's become a problem. I suppose since I'm in a bit of a fog and I don't feel like being productive, I can give you an impromptu walk around my house. This is what's called a direct vent fireplace. There's a 45-degree angle in the wall that exhausts it out. How is this different from a vent-free? This heats with radiant heat rather than just heating the air directly in the room. So vent-free, this will be controversial to say it, but I'll keep it to the facts. Vent-free fireplaces it's creating a combustion reaction right in your room. And the product of a combustion reaction is carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and water vapor. So it puts steam into your room and absorbs the oxygen. It smells, and it makes the air less breathable. Now, people invariably say, no, I've vent free and it's fine. Yeah, well, no, this is better. It takes a little bit longer to heat up, but there's no smell. It's very pleasant. These posts, whatever you want to call them, they are made from tulip poplar. Here's for scale. It's huge. I made it on the lathe and then cut it in half. That's right. Nice work, right? It's hard to let it go. This is sandstone. I didn't put a sealer on it. I used shellac. But it's very thirsty. So you can kind of see that it pulls airborne and ground-borne moisture right out. That's just its trademark. But after, 9 years, it still looks like that, so it obviously worked well. Look what I did with my baseboard. I took a top focus, took a top cove, and returned it right around. And its terminus is that. Not bad. Alright, let's continue on. This has all been remodeled. When I moved here, that was an asbestos covered door, and there was a little bit of a hallway here with a door here to get into there. I cut the door down and made this little underground cubby for wine and shoes. Oh, I hope you didn't just see me in the mirror. If you did, just pretend like you didn't. Well, problem solved, right? I moved all of this wall, we took it out. A problem with a house like this is a split entry, which means that ground level is just below this window, and there's a little porch out there, and this is the front door. The entryway goes up to the first floor or down to this basement. The problem with these, a problem with these, is that they often don't circulate air well. And before, people were resistant to the idea of open air, letting the air circulate. A house has to breathe. So we added ductwork into this so that there would be sufficient fresh air returns, and it's boring, but let's call it a circulatory system, and you need to get the air to move through the house because it's cooler here and warmer there, and you want to mix it all together and let it average out. So we added all of this. I built the cabinets from scratch. This is a radon system. It's this simple. There's a fan. Now look at this. This tube goes into this, and because the fluid level is displaced, see, from a vacuum pressure, the atmospheric pressure on this side pushes it down, and you can tell that there's a vacuum in the tube, which means that it's drawing air up. From where? I don't run it all the time because the radon test is it's negligible in this house. The tube goes down and into the concrete, and then around the hole under the concrete there's gravel, so it pulls air through. I had jackhammered all of this up for plumbing for all of this and carted it out with buckets. It was a mess. And when I was doing it, the last place that I filled in the concrete was over here. And when the radon system was on, I would hold a Bic lighter flame there and it would suck. So it works great. Also, while you're jackhammering, add one of these for your condensation. It just makes your life easier. Before there was like a pump and just jackhammer a little thing and tie it into your drain. But look at the nice little trim board that I put around it. Cool, right? It's a pretty beautiful addition. This was all wood paneling when we first moved here. And on the disclosure, or the listing for the house, it says finished basement, right? Yeah, it's finished all right. But I went up to one of the walls and took it in my hand and shook it. And this was a drop ceiling. Not what it is now. Oh, check this out. Cool, right? Rope lighting. Okay, let's move to upstairs. It should come as little to surprise to you that I'm a fan of Escher. This one's called 3 Worlds, but my favorite is upstairs. I replaced the tile. I also put tile there and in the bathroom that you saw earlier. Look at this trim work. For those of you trim carpenters out there, you should appreciate this. Come on, focus, focus, focus. This round over flows up through and becomes the return that's underneath the upper one. I really had to scratch my head on that, so I'm proud of it. I hope you appreciate it. This is wrought iron, and I sandblasted it and painted it with the flex stone so that it matches. Now, some of the color might be off here in this house and in these rooms in general, just because the camera, that looks pretty close to skin color. Maybe it's a little bit, in real life it's a little bit more dark. But the camera, I usually set it in the garage so that the lighting is more accurate. Okay, I hope nothing personal is laying around or I'll get in trouble from Mrs. Pocket. Closets. I added custom closet work everywhere. I put hardwood in. Look. These are kind of modular. It's not very light, not very well lit in there. I apologize. I'm not going to correct the light for everywhere. This is a mess, but it's not that bad. Yes, I do have an old TV, but that's the creme de la creme for vintage games. Yeah, bookshelf problem. Octahedron. When I moved in, this was just a board, and it had water damage all over it. It was a mess. So what did I replace it with? This is crown molding. This is a custom casing, and underneath there's hardy backer, which is like a concrete board, and 2 layers of thin set mortar, and this is granite tile. Look how well I lined up the glass. Even in the seam, not glass, sorry, granite. Even through the seams, there's barely an aberration. I set them all with using a piece of glass to make sure that they were just perfectly in plane with one another. Details like that you will never get your money back for, but c'est la vie. The baseboard, I replaced it all because it used to be that ugly rubber base. This stuff, this flooring, I cannot recommend enough. It's squishy. You might think linoleum is dated or for whatever reason undesirable, and there is a stigma attached to it. you have to let that go because it's the bee's knees. It's soft, it doesn't get cold on your feet, it's resistant, it's super easy to clean, and it's affordable. Right now there's this trend towards those Pergo-like interlocking floor products, but they never last. It's just a marketing meme that will pass eventually. It's a fad, and people will realize that the product wasn't that good. This is very old. We got that from our first apartment, and I refinished it and stained it. It's rubber wood. It's truly beautiful. I'm a real advocate of rubber wood. I think it's just a lovely material that's underutilized. For whatever reason, the American market doesn't like it so much, and I think that's just because they don't stain it. Its natural yellow color is nauseating. I think you might see it under there. This one's Malaysian, but you'll find them also in like Indonesia or in that region. Okay, we got away without putting in granite countertops. We left it alone. There's enough work in this that was put into this house that we didn't invest the money in countertops because we knew that we wouldn't get a return on it. And here's the view from the kitchen window. And wait until I show you those hummingbird feeders. They're so much easier than anything I've done before. I will be making a video about it. I took the plants off the pole pot sliders because they weren't getting enough light there. But I'll return them this afternoon. We're going to miss this patio, but it has the new house that we're moving to, it has porch space and patio space. It's just different. This little table here is also rubber wood. We treated it with exactly the same technique. This is one of those, we got it at the thrift store for like $5 or something, and it's a little Tykes. It's for kids. It was a kid's play table, but we cut a foot off of the legs to make it a coffee table, and then we stained it and painted it to match just like the kitchen table is. Apologies for the shaky camera. Please forgive me. Okay, moving into my personal... Oh, this is my favorite Escher. You Google it because I can't get it all in frame. It's called High and Low, and it is truly a masterpiece. It will bend your brain in half. The premise is that this is the same scene witnessed from both high and low. So elements common to the top of the painting or lithograph, the composition, whatever you want to call it, elements that are common to the top are also revisited in the bottom, and it will truly mess with your brain. Okay, moving on. Van Gogh, I know, I like Van Gogh. Cliche, but I love it. Closet space, another mirror. Don't pay attention. Pay no attention to the man in the mirror. More of this soft on the feet stuff. I bought it as a remnant, so it saved a lot of money. This was a nightmare. I replaced the tub. I want to show you this idea just because it's so cool. Oh, I just got my feet wet. We're supposed to be drying this out. So normally the shower head's up there. But with this little gizmo, it's just made from a piece of PVC pipe and acrylic glass. So you can shower while you sit down in the tub. Make it. Make one. Get one of these. This is the greatest thing ever. If you're taking a bath, you can still wash your hair. And it's that easy. I hope you like that one. I was going to make a video about it. And look at this. Remember? Not only has it survived, but it's doing great. It's grown all the way out of its bottle. Usually these things that are caught in nature are just so delicate and specific to their own natural ecology that you can't yank them out. I don't water it. I don't do anything to it. It gets diffused light through this glass block, and the shower that makes enough mist that gets into it that it's accustomed to its humid environment. So the mist, enough mist gets in there and condenses on the cold bottle that's cool from the evening before, and that's how it gets water. Awesome, right? Okay, moving on, but first I have to change my socks. This bathroom is approximately center of the house, and the laundry is center of the house downstairs, and it's just simply untenable to not have a laundry chute. So I cut a hole in the floor, and this is just some dollar store garbage can that I used to put over the hole. And clothes go right down there. Oh, by the way, that countertop down there in the laundry room, it folds up and down. Okay, we transported down from up there. And look, I put these brackets where you just lift up on the countertop and it drops it down. That just allows you to access the plumbing for upstairs if you wanted to. This is a beautiful piece of Formica laminate particle board, and I painted it white to make it a little more moisture resistant. It just came out of one of the dumpsters at a job I used to work at. Frugality. This is porcelain, and it is so hard. It's unbelievable. I really struggled to make these cuts, especially these round ones, but it turned out beautifully. I'm very happy with it. This is just ceramic tile, and it's been painted. What I wanted to do with it, but I'm afraid that I'm not going to do this now because the house is already sold and I didn't have time. But my intention was to put clear acrylic glass on it that had been painted the same color as the walls, and then apply it with contact cement so that it looks as though it's this color. This color is called Mindful, but I don't remember the brand. But it would have been acrylic glass all the way up to there and down there, overhanging there just a little bit so that the water drips off. I thought it would have been beautiful, and I wish I could have done it, but I didn't get to it. This is an idea that you should implement if you have this problem. This is just a shower curtain, right? But it's a seamless, custom fit shower curtain. And it has zero friction. Why? Because it's a piece of... Oh, we didn't dust there. Whoops. This is a piece of PVC that I bent with a heat gun. It's that simple. So what did I... The original one was steel, and it was heavier and it rusted. And it snagged because it had a seam here to adjust for length. So I figured, why not just replace it with PVC? It'll be good forever. Yeah, that was like 8 years ago. This has been fantastic. I highly recommend that. And I'm going to revisit PVC in a moment because of that wonderful anti-friction property that it has. Oh, and pro tip, if you want to bend these without kinks, you can fill this with sand and then apply the heat. Moving into my office, if you want to call it that. But I guess that's what it is. Computers, lots of computers. Actually, somewhat less the computer person than I was. I never did get to make a video about my microscope, but it's something that I'll revisit. I'm sure you probably have, in one way or another, realized I have a science background, but I'm obsolescing though in my old age. Now look at this. Games. Lots of games. I made a second one of these. If you haven't seen the video for this, go watch it. It's a pretty good video. That's a wonderful solution to a video game storage problem. That I have a video about that. It's for the microphone. It's just made out of cardboard, and that has been awesome. I'm very happy with that. More games and more custom closet. I know, it's a mess. Most of my games are just stored up and in boxes, and we have to do something about it. But look, not enough light. But custom woodwork. I made a route, and this is polyurethane. So very nice shelving. I thought that since it's a double, when I was a kid, I used to play at my closet shelving. And so I made it in that fashion, where if a kid moves into this room, he'll be able to sit there and have lots of play space. You have to think like a kid to make a space suitable to a kid. Or, if you were a kid, which you should have been, unless you missed something and there was a serious problem, you should remember what it's like. This is also kind of kid-friendly. Look what I did. It's just made out of 2x4s, and I built a framework on the wall, and it's curved to fit the corner. You can't see it because of the computer, but it's a little desk, and I have a little stool for it, and it's a lovely workspace because the room isn't very big, and I hog it all up with my desks. Okay, cut. Most of these windows had no casing, and so I had the problem of adding casing to them. And because there's a marble windowsill in the way, it's hard to terminate against. So what I did was just, well, you can see for yourself, but that doesn't matter. It's not all that interesting. My pool table, I made that when I was very young. In the next house, I hope to set it up or get rid of it. This thing, because I have a spine problem when I was younger, I roofed and I ended up with a spine problem, so this helps take it off, and then I do exercises to reduce some of the pain. Don't hurt your spine, kids. More custom closet work. Mrs. Pocket probably doesn't want you in there, though. She doesn't want you in here either. Mirrored doors. Mirrors, 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 so we need to stay out of there, right? But this is cool. I need some light. Again with the PVC. I redid the closets. I bet your clothes don't move that easy in your closet. Look what I did. This bracket is holding up a piece of black iron pipe, and then over the black iron pipe is PVC because it's low friction. Look how heavy all these clothes are, and watch. No friction, which means you can silently and effortlessly move through your clothes. I totally recommend doing that. So if you can see through the blinding light, we're looking at the back porch again. Yes, I made the stick chairs. Yes, I made the pole pot things and the bird bath and the greenhouse up there and the fire ring. And I like to make things. Remember the shed with the golf ball things that hold it shut? There's videos all over this house. Okay, let me show you the attic. Oh, and there's lots of videos that I never posted too, so you'll still see content from this house long after. I made a video, it was probably 2 hours long, about this. It's a memory foam bed that I made. What's that? Just something on it. This is pleather, and there's foam, and I made a video. Maybe I'll post it someday. I never edited it. Now this. So when we moved here, none of the attic was ready. This is a big piece of foam. And what does it do? It insulates, because I can feel heat. It is so hot out today. It's probably 90 outside in Fahrenheit. Okay, so the light switch is here, and there's a little indicator light to tell us that the attic lights are still on. And what's up here? It's a trussed roof, and it has gable ventilation, and I redid all of this. There was no plywood there when we moved in. I'm not so much of a clutter bug. A lot of these are just empty boxes because we're getting ready to move. So we've been saving boxes. There's a lot of interesting things up here which I hope to pull out for videos in the future. What I did was we carted up plywood piece by piece and added 2x4s to the bottoms of the trusses so that there would be room for insulation, and then we set plywood on top of that. This is some scrap wood that runs the entire length on both sides, and that holds back the fluffy insulation. It's not a bad little house. The person who's going to inherit this next is largely unaware of all of the little touches that I added to this place to make it very well suited to living comfortably. Okay, down we go. The camera just shut off because of the heat. It's so hot upstairs. Yes, I make stools. I've made so many of them. I mean, so many of them. Beautiful design. I meant to get to that eventually, too. Magazine rack. Never got to that. So many things that I make and have made over the years. It's bizarre. You know, I get a lot of comments on my videos when they see my house because I concern myself with the videography. I try to make things, like I think a video, I know this sounds pretentious, but I do this. I try to make video a composition where you consider light and balance, and I really do think about those things. And so I try to position things so that they look nice, and I definitely try in the backyard to make it look presentable. This video notwithstanding. But I get a lot of comments about how rich I am, and that is so far from the truth, it's so unfair. Granted, us Americans are spoiled. We get more than we deserve given our net productivity versus consumption. I don't think that I've earned everything that I have in the strictest sense, economically speaking. But I live in a wasteful world, and it's easy for me to take advantage of that. That is made from 2x4s. This is leftover sandstone from my fireplace and an old cork board. This was found in the garbage, and this is some leftover cedar shelving. Most of the things here I've either made or reclaimed to some extent. That was Mrs. Pocket's old bedroom furniture, and it was an upright that was this tall for some stupid cabinet thing. We cut it down and used its parts to turn it into this entertainment center. These things are repurposed and made. And look, I want to tell you a piece of advice. And this is one of the wisest things that anyone has ever said to me in my life. When I was a young roofer, I worked for this guy, and me and my buddy were bitching about how little we got paid. And he stopped and yelled at us and looked us square in the eye and pointed at us and said, "It has nothing to do with how much money you have. It's what you do with it." And he was angry, but he was serious. His argument was that he had a friend who worked at Home Depot, which is one of those big box stores, and it's not well known for paying a lot. But his friend had a nicer house, nicer cars, and more toys than he did, because he was a savvy spender. Being frugal and establishing lifelong habits of restraint and frugality, you'll get whatever you want. It's not just some cliche. You will get whatever you want in life. We all get whatever we want in life because we reorganize our minds to suit those priorities. Whether you want to or not, or like it or not, that's the case. And I think the house that we're going to move into, I think it's beautiful. And I expect some people to keep making those comments about how, like, oh, you know, you're rich, and that's just so not fair. It's like it diminishes my experience because it doesn't take into account just how much I've worked my tail off for every little stupid thing that I have or have made. I don't remember what else I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm really rambling. Some of you guys like that though, so I forget what my purpose here was. Give me a moment to think. In closing, I'm going to have room for my gym equipment, which will be nice, and you will never have video interrupted by the sound of lawnmower ever again. This is for my nephew's graduation party. It's a Jenga set. A large Jenga set. I hate to kiss it goodbye, in a way. But look what a cluttered mess it is. It's not really a mess, it's organized. But it's too tight. And I'm really excited about what I'm going to do to improve this. It's going to be better in every aspect. And I'm excited to show it to you. I think you're going to love it. I've appreciated every bit of support, even though I don't always vocally express it, and I might seem snobby or unappreciative or arrogant or however I appear to you that seems to be negative. I have to apologize for that because you see me in a limited context, and I should express some type of gratitude to you because those of you who are still watching this, you guys have been nothing but great to me. And I appreciate being able to take you along with me to just share my random thoughts with you and to get feedback. This is a two-way communication. You can actually talk to me and I can respond and hear what you say, and we can help each other. And in that spirit of thinking, I do have to have some type of financial help from you in order to continue doing this, especially if I'm going to scale it up, and I do want to scale it up. I'm really going to reorganize the new garage so that it's suited to making videos, because I just have so many ideas for things that I have yet to express that can be of use to people or interest. And because it's fun, and because I'm in too deep now to get out. There's no way I can get out at this point. Even if I wanted to, it's funny that fate does that to us. Despite all of our squirming, we are really at its mercy. Hey, seriously, thanks. And I will keep you updated and posted. I'm going to come up with some type of video content that takes you along with what I'm doing, so I'll talk to you soon. Oh, I almost forgot. So far as I can tell, you can't use the same piece for all 6. You can build it so far as piece 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with the same piece, but then for piece 6, in order to join them, you'll have to use an opposite orientation piece. In other words, like a piece that has a complete reflection to this. I don't know, think about it. Maybe I'm missing something. Who knows?